My name is Frank A. Thomas, and I am once and again thankful to God and privileged to present another video snippet of the African American preaching tradition. I want to mention two major strands in the African American preaching tradition, what is known as folk preaching and intellectual preaching. It is important to understand that this distinction in African American preaching continues to exist even to today. There is the genre of folk preaching and intellectual preaching, and this week I want to talk about folk preaching. Folk preaching is African American preachers who operated from either a grassroots folk approach called old time and old-fashioned Negro preaching by some. Folk preachers represented preachers without formal education and would include Brother Carper, John Jasper, Sojourner Truth, people who probably in all likelihood were not able to be educated or to get much formal education in the period from 1750 to 1865. In this tradition, it's an oral tradition of folk preaching. It affirmed the power of story, imagination, imagery, analogy, metaphor, narration, and extemporaneous and dramatic retelling of Bible stories. Intonation or whooping is one of the common hallmarks of the folk preaching tradition. Now, I could spend time on whooping by itself, but I won't. I'll only say this. Whooping is the rhetorical practice, traditionally at the end of the sermon, in which the preacher sings or chants in rhythmic cadence in the vernacular of call and response that raises the emotional intensity and impact of the sermon. Most folk preachers were whoopers. This is our history as African American preachers, the history of folk preachers who are still very much alive to this very day. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. And please don't forget that each and every Monday we do a Periscope live broadcast, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Twice a week we release videos in this series on African American preaching. And finally, each and every week we upload spiritual vitamins to SoundCloud. We want to make sure that you will subscribe to each of these platforms. And I know you want to get as fast as you can this powerful information that's coming forth. So sign up. God bless you. And thank you so much for watching.